So hello, my name is Benedict Cumbersnatch. I eat cucumbers and I love chicken.
Great to have you on here, Benedict Cucumber. An avid fan.
Hashtag YOLO, hashtag eat your beans.
Hello everybody and welcome back to the Kaleidoscope Cafe Podcast. Joining me today is Luke Curtis, musician / content creator. How's it going, Luke?
Thanks for having me. It's going good. Everything's pretty good, yeah. So
we said we would start off with inspirations you have for projects at the minute. Do you want to start off with who you were thinking of?
Yeah, so, I mean, as Oscar said, like, me and you were both doing commercial music, so music is, like, part of our lives. For me, I think, like, big inspirations are, like, Tame Impala, Untitled Orchestra, and, like, obvious ones like the Beatles, and Post Malone.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, like, with Tame Impala, the kind of psychedelic rock is such a cool sound. So that is something, and I know you like that as well.
Yeah,
you?
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah. Have you heard of Untitled Orchestra?
Yeah. So good at being in trouble.
Yeah. I mean, that's like their...
Multi-Love?
Yeah, Multi-Love as well, yeah. I mean, that's So Good at Being in Trouble, I think might be their most main, like, song that most people know. But I mean, for Untitled Orchestra, like, there's literally not one album I don't like, not one song I dislike. Everything is just so good, and it was one of those things when I first heard them, I didn't realize that I needed the sound that they were, if that makes sense. I was literally like an actual awakening of like, oh my god, this is so weird, this sound I've never heard before. His vocals is, because Ruben Nielsen's the main like guy, and I just like, what the hell, it just sounds so different. I first heard Can't Keep Checking My Phone, the rhythm and everything, it's just incredible. I was like, what is this? And then I just became like a super fan, and it's so embarrassing, I've got so many vinyls of theirs. I've got like multiple of the same but like different color vinyls, and like I've got so many different types of theirs. Obviously Tame Impala, because you know, Kevin Parker, I mean, what else do you have to say? It's Kevin fucking Parker, he's just awesome. But then also like Post Malone, he's and I know he's very mainstream and he does more rap and stuff, but like with him, I find he always manages to just bring in something different, like with Stay, Circles. Circles was produced by Kevin Parker as well, so that's why I love that so much. But yeah, I'm trying to think who else. And then like really obvious stuff like the Beatles and
that everybody loves.
Yeah. I mean, Oscar's said that I'm a musician, but like, I mean, I'm really not qualified to be called even, like, I'm aspiring to make a song, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not at that level in any way to be called that. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know, in my mind I'm like, you're somebody who predominantly plays music, which qualifies you as a musician.
I guess, but for me, like, that title kind of holds this thing of like, you know what you're doing to a certain extent. Do you know what I mean? I've made like maybe 5-6 songs, one that I've actually put out, which I'm not like super keen on, but eventually, that's why I'm here studying music, is obviously like I want to make an album that is professional enough where I feel I can then say, yeah, I am a musician.
So you want to prove to yourself that you're a musician. Sure.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair. Yeah.
That's funny. I think I mean, I guess I considered myself a musician as soon as I got paid to gig, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, I've never been at that point. I mean, I have everyone on this course as well. Like, I'm probably the least qualified to be
I think most people feel that way, though. Like,
yeah,
I wouldn't look at you and think you're the least qualified by any stretch, to be honest. No.
Oh, thank you very much.
Not that I, like, look at people and gauge how qualified they are. Not that that's, like, something I do. But, you know, if I were to, that wouldn't be something I'd be thinking.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that is a pretty kind of fair thing to say, I guess. But I'm just trying to think who else, because I've been listening a lot to like a lot of like Beatles and stuff, but Sean Lennon and Les Claypool.
Oh yeah.
So that's, for people who don't know, like Sean Lennon is John Lennon's son, and they're in a band called the Claypool Lennon Delirium, and some of that is just it's just incredible. It's like it's criminal that they're not more known, really, because there's a song called Blood and Rockets, Movement 1, The Saga of Jack Parsons, and it is this whole kind of like true story of this guy who basically, like, he was building rockets in America. He was like really good at building like projectiles and stuff.
Okay.
And he was so good at building them in his garden that the US were like, they'd pick it up on their radar that he was building rockets. And they eventually kind of brought him in, and he was just like a really clever guy, but he met this other guy called like Mr. Crowley, who was like a Satanist, black magic, like crazy dude who had a persona called the Beast, right? And he was crazy. And they basically came together and they were like worshipping like the craziest stuff. They had like a whole sex cult in Pasadena. They had a house that was like just used for orgies and stuff. It was just bonkers. And and the whole song's all about that. And what's so bizarre is that clearly John Lennon had like, there was clearly a connection between like John and them. I don't know how, but in Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, in the artwork at the front, it has all the like cutouts and stuff. It has Mr. Crowley on like as one of the cutouts, and it's not like he's a culturally known person, because you've got like people like, you got obviously the like, how many people are on the cover?
Maybe 100.
Is it 100? It's a lot, but like,
it looks like, when you look at it from far away, it looks like a massive group.
And there's so many people on there that are like culturally significant to just in general. Like, you've got, for example, Marilyn Monroe, right? And behind Marilyn Monroe is a cutout of the Beast, which is Mr. Crowley's persona. So like, why is that there? Why is that there? It's creepy. There's something going on there, I think.
There's like a lot of things about John Lennon that make you think maybe there's something going on there, to be fair.
Yeah.
Like, you'll hear like random stories.
Yeah. I think
that's the thing. I just kind of take the music for what it is.
Exactly.
I don't really read too much into the lore.
Yeah.
With him.
Yeah. That's fair. But yeah, I just think that like literally both albums of Claypool, Lennon, Delirium have a lot of imagery of Mr. Crowley and Jack Parsons. Really bizarre.
Really strange choice.
But cool. Really cool music. So nice sounding. Yeah.
It's funny how the US government sometimes just picks people up like that. They're like, oh, that guy who's making missiles in his backyard? Come work for us.
We can use him. Yeah.
We've got a job for you. Yeah. So, do you think you're going to bring some of that inspiration into Indigo Weekend?
Oh, okay. Right, yeah. So, absolutely. I want Indigo Weekend. That is a band that I want to start making with Oscar. At the moment, everyone's so busy that we haven't been able to get it off the ground yet.
Yeah.
But I think once we get everyone together and we have like one practice session where all of us all like know what I feel like the magic will just hit, and we'll be like, yeah, this is it. This is going to be something big. I really do think, maybe not big, but I think we can do it. And the sound I want for that is going to be, well, quite indie. I want it to have a mix of psychedelic rock, Tudor Cinema Clubby maybe, like something like that. But I want it to have a range.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like trapped in this box of only doing a certain sound.
Yeah,
you know?
no, I get you.
That'd be so boring to me. Yeah.
For sure. I do like being able to go into kind of weird scales or stuff like that. Because, like, there's a lot of bands where you kind of find yourself just doing pentatonic stuff and kind of just same old, even though it's really fun, but it's less challenging than if you go into like weird psych rock, like strange time signatures or, you know, weird modes, and you're like, hell yeah, dude, you know.
Yeah, I mean, even with like Dandelion House, like the scales that you bring to that, I don't know, I just really enjoy the sound that you bring to that, because it's like, it is folky, because we are in a folk band, but I feel like you, like especially you always like, if it's, I don't know, like you always try and spice it up. You never want to go for like the normal chord. You want to go for the normal chord,
like
but
straight chords.
Yeah, like you'll get a bass chord and you'll go, I'm gonna just place this finger here, and it's gonna ring out a little bit differently, and then you're gonna hammer on there, and you're gonna do it. It's just so cool.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I think you kind of have to, because otherwise, unless you're like exceptionally good at writing melodies, like if you're just playing 4 chords, it can just sound like a lot of other things that already exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Especially since, like, I don't know, folk, like, just the options of, like, weird tunings and adding strange things to it, it's like, you're not going to make it worse by making it have more flavour, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like I do go into my comfort zone a bit too much when it comes to music specifically, because I feel like it's my least qualified thing. So, bass chords are what I always go for, and even just with instruments in general, it's like I have my acoustic guitar, and that's like my main thing that I enjoy playing with, is because I feel like I've got more of a grasp on it than my electric. So I want to push myself, but sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm in like a bit of a comfort zone, but when it comes to like short films and stuff, I do feel like I want to push way more on like visual technique, because I feel like I've already got a grasp on the basics at least of film.
Did you take film at college?
So I studied art and design at one point. I studied media, and then I left because I just didn't like how the course was being taught, and I thought like, oh, I'll just literally just get a job.
Yeah.
And I got a job. I absolutely hated it. I was like, if this is what my life is going to be, hell no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing this. So I saved up. I got myself a Panasonic GH4. It was like 700, 800 quid. Got that, and I started making storyboards and wrote a little script, and I made a short film, which is called Balaclava. And it was kind of like, it's terrible because it's the first thing I did, but I'm so happy with it because I'm like, you know, actually, like, I did it. I scout located, and my friend Lyle was like, I'm there with you. I'll act in it and all this. And my other friend Woody was like, yeah, I'll be there. Like, they were so like, it was just so nice of them to help me. And we made the short film, edited it all together, and some people mocked it, but of course they're going to mock it because if they don't see a point in it, they're always going to try and knock you down. Yeah, you know, and they'd laugh and all that, and it was like, well, fine then, like, do that.
There's a lot of people who have achieved fuck all who will happily make fun of other people as well.
Exactly, right, exactly. So that was one thing, and then I thought, right, we're going to do another one. And a lot of time went by, and I really storyboarded out the second one, and there's like so much improvements on the second one especially. And some of my other friends, Nathan and Ryan and stuff, they came in and they helped me, and we made the second one, and it was just so much better, like such an improvement. Yeah. And I then sent that to BFI, which in Bristol, basically there's a thing called BFI. It's linked with BAFTA. It's spread across the UK. Right. And I saw that there was one going in Bristol. So I sent out, like, showed the short films, and then I went for an interview, and I managed to get in, which was a massive shock. I didn't think I was going to get in because, like, apparently lots of people go for it. I didn't think it was that big of a thing. Yeah. But I got in, did that. Probably, like, one of the happiest I've ever been in my life was doing that course, because I really felt like the ball was rolling, and I was like, yeah, let's do this, you know. Yeah. And we made, like, the whole end of that was making a short film. So we did that, and then just nothing happened. Like, the ball just stopped rolling. I was like, I had nothing to do, no funds. Back to the drawing board. So I got a job, and I worked for like 2 years in like a job that I didn't enjoy, but it was money. Saved up. I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and do music. And then I've like bought all my own equipment, bought my, like, everything is like my own thing. I haven't had anyone to be like, you know what I mean? Which is like, I think it separates people, because there are people that kind of have an ambition and want to do something, but then they say they're going to do it, but they don't ever do it. And then there's people that go, no, I'm going to do this. Yeah. And they're like willing to just go, no, screw it. Like, I might waste my money on this. This might be a big flop. And I might, you know, not make anything from it, but screw it, I want to do it. And that's just what I did. And then made a couple terrible songs in my room. Sent it to here.
Yeah.
But even that was a really long process, you know?
Really?
Yeah, I applied to go to BIM, and they accepted me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had like really bad grades. I have very bad like grades.
Uh-huh.
And then they said, oh, you need to write like a kind of essay to kind of show that you know what you're doing. And I wrote out this essay, and they were like, yeah, he clearly doesn't know what he's doing. And I was like, oh, great. So I didn't get in. But instead of it like deterring me, I just spent the next year kind of like doing more research. I went to DBS. I don't know if you know that.
DBS?
Yeah, it's more like a production thing in Bristol.
So a school?
Yeah, kind of a college, yeah.
Ah, okay.
I did that. Met some super cool, talented people. And it just kind of has kept going. And now I'm here.
It worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. In hindsight, it was the best thing.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, the not getting in, and there was like other things as well. So yeah, I was accepted to another college, another university, but I ended up not going because of COVID.
Where was that?
So it would have been Weston-super-Mare.
Ah, okay.
But it was through Bath.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I was going to Bath, but then it was actually
in Weston. Yeah.
And then COVID hit. So I was like, I'm not going to go to that either way because of COVID. But also I just didn't, I wanted to go to Bath. Like Bath.
The city.
Yeah, I wanted to like go here. I didn't want to go to somewhere else. Nothing against Weston. But yeah, so, and that was a whole another year out of my life, you know what I mean? Where I had to kind of go, right, what am I going to do with it all, you know? And I got a job, and yeah. And now I'm here. Mm-hmm. And I'm really glad.
Yeah.
Like, failure is as much of a part of progress, I think, really.
It's the only way.
It is part of progress, is failure. And I think I've failed way more than I've succeeded. I can count how many times I've successfully kind of like gone further within music. I can count it on probably one hand. I successfully made a song.
Yeah.
Was it good? No. But no, do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things, but it was also what separates people, you know?
Yeah.
How are you going to react to that failure?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people just kind of go, right, oh, screw that. I'm done now.
I think some people take it really personally if they fail.
Mm-hmm. And that's okay, because maybe it is on you that you failed.
Yeah.
But then you got to be like really transparent and go, right, okay, well, I have failed.
How do I not fail?
Yeah. And usually you then fail again. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. You go, right, how do I not fail? And you attempt the same thing, and then you fail again. Well, you go, right, well, I failed the second time, but I failed maybe in a different way. Mm-hmm. It's more frustrating when you fail a second time doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
But failing a second time, but because of a different reason, it's like, well, that's still something I can take on board.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you kind of feeling about the projects you kind of have going on?
I mean, I'm very excited. I do feel like the ball's not... It's rolling. Mm-hmm. Stuff's happening. It's not happening as much as I'd honestly want it to. Like, I do want Indigo Weekend to be a thing. I want my solo stuff to be a thing. And it's like a very slow process. I do find that, you know... but, you know, it's just one of those things. And, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just... I think it's going okay.
That's good. That's good. I think in general, I'm pretty happy with how things are going for me here. Like, I don't know. I took on way too much, as you saw.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally kind of getting into a place where I have like a reasonable workload. Like the fact that I can even podcast right now is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
Because like there were weeks where I was like, oh, no time for lunch. Like no time for like sleeping. So yeah, it's nice to be back podcasting.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, thank you so much for letting me come on.
No, it's great, dude. It's great to be back doing it. It's a bit of a strange feeling because I haven't done it in, like, I don't know. It's only realistically a few months, but so much has happened. It's like I'm a whole, like, new person, and I'm, like, returning back to it. So it's quite nice. But, yeah.
For you as well, like, you've performed a reasonable amount.
Oh, yeah.
Because when we were in the SU with Dandelion House... Mm-hmm. Like, that was the first time I'd ever performed in front of people, really, in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
You know?
How was that?
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Genuinely. I was kind of like, I was terrified leading up to it.
Yeah.
Like the days before were awful. Like I couldn't really sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I literally had like a dream that I was up on stage and I just couldn't play. And then I woke up like,
no.
Yeah, it was so weird, like so cliche, but I actually had that. But then once it happened, I was like, oh, is it done now? Like what?
Yeah.
And I didn't screw up.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, yeah, but it's
it was
all right.
fine. Yeah.
It wasn't as bad as it could have been, you know. It was really, it was just a great experience, and that's why I'm here. I need to push myself out my comfort zone. So, yeah.
Yeah. I really want to get started on some solo stuff. That's my other thing that I'm like, I want to prioritize. Is it would be so nice to have an album out.
Yeah, I know. That's what I want to do. I want to make an EP and just, like, especially my solo stuff. I want to make an EP and just it be like, I want it to sound professional. That's all I want. I want it to sound like it's actually been made by a professional group, because anyone can record, like now, anyone can record something in their room, but not many people can make it sound really
well produced.
Yeah, it can still be a good sound. You can still make a good song in your room, but I want it to sound like it's really produced and like
like a studio recording.
Yeah. So that's kind of the next step with all that.
Yeah. Are you writing stuff at the minute for that?
Yeah, I'm just basically in my room. Most of the time I'm just songwriting in my room with my acoustic, which is a bit of, because I find like I'm also getting myself into this routine of like all my songs are sounding acoustic-y, because that's what I'm writing on.
Oh, okay.
And obviously I want to form a band around these songs. So that's something that I need to be aware of, because I don't want it all to sound acoustic-y. I want to have
different sounds. Yeah, you were saying like you would want a band where each song kind of sounds like it's a different style, or
kind of, yeah. Bring in different things from different bands and maybe find our own sound. But I mean Kevin Parker, I think he starts with most of his songs, he starts with the drums.
Yeah.
He focuses on the drums first. He has to get the drums sounding right, like, and then you think like, why do I feel my whole body move into this beat? You know? And it's because he's just got the drums down, and that is the base of it all. Like Lost in Yesterday, like the drum and the bass as well.
Yeah.
All of it together, he's just a genius.
Would you produce your own stuff?
I'd want to, if I got good enough. Yeah. Yeah. It'll be really fun to like listen back to this if things do go well.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to go like, oh yeah, look how much I
remember talking about doing that.
Yeah. That would be cool. But I don't really know what this podcast, I mean, it's like, obviously I'm talking on it, but we're talking about whatever really, innit? It's just...
Yeah, this podcast is like extremely loose format. I'm going to be honest. I tend to just put up the camera, put up the microphone and let people talk. Most of the time on here, it's mostly just me kind of racking people's brains and seeing what they come out with.
Yeah. Like, I just feel weird because it's like, I'm not really qualified to talk about that much stuff in general. I don't want like your audience to think I'm like me, like
my
bigging myself up, because
mostly people who are down for listening to me waffle on. I think that is a key part of enjoying this podcast. I'm not going to lie. Like, if you're looking for like straight intellectual content, this is probably not the place you find yourself on the internet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. But like, I'm not obviously like, oh me. Like, this is so I'm being interviewed. Like, you know.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I think it's also funny for people who like, I don't know, some people are like really big personalities, and so you'll whack them on a podcast and they like just
take over. Yeah,
they just fly off. They love it. They'll talk about it themselves for like 2 hours happily. Yeah. And then some people, they're a bit more like reserved, and you kind of have to like bring it out
their
of
brains
them.
a bit.
Yeah, definitely, especially if you're not used to like just talking on a recording anyway. You're like, your brain's sort of like, I'm being recorded, and you've become more self-aware, I think, than you would if you were just like chatting, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Yeah. So do you feel like this is going to go somewhere? Like, do you want to keep doing this until it actually like blows up, or?
No, to be honest, music is the thing where I'm like, I'd love to make a career out of it. Podcasting is the thing where I'm like, this is really fun, and I'll do it with my friends, people I find interesting online, and it's just like a nice outlet to have conversations with people who like, otherwise those conversations probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's that, like, in terms of like getting sponsors and stuff, I'm completely unfussed. If this podcast never makes a pound, that is absolutely fine by me. Whether it's music, I'm very much like, I'd love to have a career out of it. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Like,
Yeah.
I definitely see myself as a musician first.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've made maybe 5 or 6 episodes of this podcast, like, still very early days. So it would be, like, wonderful if it did do really well. But in terms of, like, is that something I'm really pushing for or prioritizing? Like, absolutely not, no.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That being said, this episode is sponsored by Clash of Clans. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you know what I mean.
Manscaped.
Yeah. They're always sponsoring everything.
Yeah,
like, how
get
do
your
you guys-
razor.
Yeah. Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah. Welcome to Dollar Shave Club.
Yeah, no, it's quite funny. What podcasters do you listen to?
So, Joe Rogan, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, he is just kind of really, he always gets really interesting people on. You know, he had Robert Downey Jr. on.
He lands the best guests.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just so impressive. Waffling podcast, do you know that one?
I don't know.
So it's like, there's a YouTuber called Joe Weller.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
And he's like, yeah, and it's him, Theo Baker, and Luke Evans, I want to say. But they're just one of those groups where they're so open and honest about how they feel. It's quite refreshing because they will embarrass themselves. Like, they'll talk about the funniest, like, or like very, very emotional things, and they're just very honest about how they feel. And I think it's like doing a really, really good thing because their audience is predominantly male, I'd say, and they talk about mental health and stuff a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that is really good because it's like, it is going to genuinely like make a lot of their listeners feel like they can talk about like mental health, which is a really important thing. And Joe Weller gets a lot of, well, kind of flack because he used to be like this, he used to kind of make
skits.
Yeah. And like, he doesn't really do that anymore. He'll do like the occasional haunted video, and they're just funny. They're just really like well edited videos. I really rate him. And he's jumping into music as well, which is quite cool. Yeah,
like dance music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Waffling Podcast to listen to. What else? There's a podcast. So I really like Greek mythology.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where that is, why it is, but Greek mythology is just a huge passion project of mine. Like, just, I'm so fascinated by it. And there's a podcast called Myth Understood. All right.
That's a great name.
And they just talk about all the different mythologies. They've moved on from Greek. They've done Egyptian and Norse.
Norse is like my favorite that I've read up on. Just because the stories are brilliant.
And yeah, they're just, it's just such a fun way of them doing it, and it's just great. Like, I really love that one. There's other ones as well. I'm trying to think like my other podcasts that I would sit down and really kind of listen to. But for me, it's like, so yeah, there's some of those podcasts. There's a YouTube channel called Red Letter Media, which is literally like my favorite YouTube channel ever. All right. They are so like, from like a meme perspective, there's so many there's so many memes that have come from their content when people have no idea who they are and where it comes from.
Okay.
They are like the godfathers of YouTube in a sense. Like, they made these Mr. Plinkett reviews years and years ago, and it was all about the Star Wars prequels. And it gained like cultural significance, and they're still really big now. They'll get on trending. They do movie reviews. That's like their main thing, is movie reviews, and they have like their own like kind of shows that are on YouTube called like Best of the Worst and like Plinketto, and it's just Mike Stolklasa is like the main guy, and he kind of was the one who made the Plinkett reviews. And you've got Jay Bowman or whatever. I can't remember, like, but, and like they like co-host a show called Half in the Bag, where they review movies and stuff. And then my favorite one's Rich Evans, and he's like the funniest guy. His laugh is like the best laugh ever. They're just so funny. And every episode you're watching literally just like mates having a laugh. Like,
that's nice.
You're just watching friends have a laugh. That's the whole thing. And when you watch them enough, because like I feel like I know them as friends, and I've obviously never met them, but that's kind of the key to their content. They're just friends. You just feel like you're just sat watching mates hang out, and because I feel like I know them, it's almost like I'm sat with my friends.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just such a great show. So yeah, Red Letter Media. It's just so funny.
I think I kind of have a similar thing with I don't know, like life story YouTubers, because you get to feel like you know them because you hear like all the wacky stuff they get up to. Like I love Xcode A, if you know him.
Xcode A.
He's like the stoner dude who wears the big fluffy hat.
I don't think I know him.
You don't know him?
No.
Brilliant. I love Bentley Blaze. That dude. Another.
Are these all stoners?
Mostly, yeah.
I started to something catching on here.
Yeah.
Because you showed me one video of that guy doing the storytelling of the
that's
fireworks.
Xcode A.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know him.
Like, I love stuff like that where people just talk about like funny things that have happened.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's like brainless content. You're like, I can sit down and put this on while I'm like cooking or something.
Yeah,
like,
and you can just chill out and enjoy it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So like, sorry for the obviously audio listeners, but like that, do you know what I mean? That's Rich
meme.
Evans. That's like one of the memes that he did.
Right.
Like, well, he didn't even make it. But people just, but they're so funny.
Okay.
I think I'm quite drawn to kind of longer format media. If a YouTube video's an hour long, like the longer the better. I would much prefer to sit down and watch an 8-hour in-depth video analyzing a TV show than I would sit down and watch a 10-minute, like, just for the YouTube algorithm, 10-minute video that might be fast edited and be like, oh, flashy lights, like, and it's like, what? Like,
what's the point?
Yeah, what's the point? Like, I don't feel like I'm going to gather anything. Don't get me wrong, there's some really, really well edited, like, videos that I do really enjoy. I just feel like everything that I watch, it has to be to do with films.
Okay.
Everything. Like, now I'm kind of realizing all the YouTube channels that I do watch, and it's
just film.
It's all films.
I'm the same with music, like Rick Beato, guys like that. Like, I just love to watch, or like Paul Davids, just any of them who just talk about guitar stuff. I'll happily just whack on in the background. But then if it's, I don't know, anything unrelated to stuff I'm interested in, it's it's just over my head. Yeah. Because I'm like, what am I getting from this? Yeah. I love a good, like, I don't know, like mystic on YouTube as well. They're always fun. Like, if somebody's doing a tarot reading or something, like, I'll watch that stuff. Yeah, I love it. It's just fun, Do
you have like a guilty pleasure when it comes to those like YouTube content? Is there something that you sit down and watch and you're like, I shouldn't really be watching it?
It's the type of thing that if I'm with friends and we have nothing to do, we'll occasionally watch, and we'll be like, let's predict our futures. Let's find out what our palms are telling us about who we really are. Like, I love that, I wouldn't really say guilty because it's not like something I get into that often. It's just the occasional, like, oh, this could be quite fun to look into. Yeah. Yeah. I love like old interviews as well. That's another like niche I'll go into, like David Bowie interviews, or like just any random artist from like the 70s or the 60s. I'll happily sit and listen to them talking about stuff that's going on at the time. Yeah. Not that they ever share any of the most interesting stories because they're all illegal, but
Yeah, they're all just kind of like to do with acid. Trips and stuff. I saw an interview with Bowie, and it was like talking about the internet. It must have been in like the early 2000s.
He predicted it.
He was spot on. Good. He was spot on with everything. Yeah.
Have you seen that clip of him saying meme school?
No. Oh, he says meme school.
Yeah, he was just on stage and he just randomly picks up the microphone and goes, meme school. And you're like, how did you know that people in 20 years were going to find that hysterical? Like, he was just so ahead of his time. It's so funny.
It's probably the Clockwork Elves or whatever. He's probably doing DMT.
Yeah, he probably was, to be fair. Bless him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about Terence McKenna before on this podcast, but DMT is something I've yet to try, but is absolutely fascinating to me.
It's kind of like terrifying, but also really interesting. Like, I don't think it's one of those things. The main thing that kind of blows my mind about DMT is that how everyone seems to have kind of similar things. Like I think all these people did it, and they were all seeing the same like little elves.
Yeah.
And they were all pointing at the same one. Like, there's an elf there. Why is that elf doing that?
Mm-hmm.
How the hell did they all that? Like, that is just bizarre. They were all seeing the same thing. Do you know what I mean?
Especially considering, I don't know, people in different cultural contexts have the same experience.
Yeah.
So it's not like everybody's had this idea implanted into their brain. It's like people go into the experience with no context and still, or like different contexts and still experience the same like archetypes of the experience.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. There's something going on there. And also, why would DMT be released when you die?
Mm-hmm.
That it's literally released into the brain when, like, the brain went, oh, that your brain
Well,
realizes.
that's just a part of dying.
But it realizes that it's dying. Like, your brain will realize, oh, I am dying right now. I'm going to release DMT.
Yeah.
And then you get this psychedelic hit as you are dying, right? Like, that has to be why that's released, you know? And it's just so crazy how, like, that's stored within you, yet you will not be able to access that.
Unless you ingest it.
Unless you... Well, but like even the stuff that like you have DMT in your brain right now that's stored there.
Yeah.
And obviously it will then be released
when you die.
But like that's just crazy. Like,
well, there is a base level of DMT in your system anyway, isn't there?
Oh, is there?
I don't know. I'm like not well versed on it at all.
I don't know. I have no idea.
It's a occurring thing in the body.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is just absolutely.
I'm not qualified to talk about DMT.
No, me
at
neither.
all. It's not
Oh
something
God,
I've read
no,
up
me
on.
neither.
No.
I don't know anything about it apart from just like I just watch loads of Joe Rogan videos about it, and he'll be like, "Oh, this crazy like." DMT is just one of those things. It's very, very, very fascinating.
Yeah.
But also,
I think in the right context, it has potential for like immense healing and growth.
There was like a YouTube channel that I saw, and it was this guy who did it loads. And like I was looking through his videos, and I was like, it was like a playlist of all of like a step by step of these different videos and these different things that he'd done. So the first one was like, like doing DMT, like step by step, blah
like
blah.
trip reports.
Kind of, yeah. And he was like, I wanted to see this woman or something. There was a woman that he wanted to see. And then as the videos went down, it just went down, down, down. And then the fifth one was like, I'm now schizophrenic. Like from doing DMT, like maybe it triggered. And I was just kind of like, oh, well, that kind of took a turn. And in the first video, he's like absolutely fine. Like there's no bad things to it. And as I went down, he was just like, so guys, like I'm now schizophrenic. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like that obviously has something. I think it's a crazy thing.
It's the same with there's some psychedelics that if you're at high risk for schizophrenia just aren't a great idea to get yourself into.
Yeah.
I think that's that's why I sort of tell people to be cautious, enjoy them, have a good time, be responsible,
Yeah.
But if you're predisposed to schizophrenia, I mean, if I was, I would have massive second thoughts about whether I'd go and do repeatedly DMT, at least without a trip sit or anything, like that just sounds like a pretty horrible idea.
It was a very long time that I saw it, but it was just something along those lines, and I just remember kind of seeing it and being like, oh my God, like wow, what an intense. He could have just been saying it for clickbait.
He could.
Do you know what I mean? He could have just been saying it for clickbait. I didn't really watch it. I was like, oh. I
remember seeing a similar thing. It was a guy who did Datura, if you know that.
I have no idea what that is.
It's basically a really horrifying psychedelic. Like, it's so common to have a bad trip on it. I'm not saying it's impossible to have a good trip, but the thing is it's poisonous, so it's like so easy to die from it. Like, just one of those I would personally never touch. And this guy, I think he ended up having like split personality disorder or something after. And you're like, dude, take it easy. Like, It's interesting how people are willing to like throw themselves into that deep of waters just to explore more psychedelic
like
experiences.
crocodile, right? You know what crocodile
is that the Russian drug?
I'm not sure where the hell it comes from, but I'm pretty sure like you do it and it like makes your skin go all horrible and like starts to rot off and like you just I don't even know. It's kind of crazy.
Kind of crazy.
But yeah. Where do you see yourself in, like, let's say 4 years' time? Do you have a little plan of where you want to go there? Or
4 years? Yeah. My ideal situation, because 4 years I'll have finished university, I would love to migrate to the US or Canada. Would love to be a recording musician.
Yeah.
Wouldn't mind doing part-time work in other stuff, like just being a barista or something, or like, working at a store, just to make ends meet. Would love to travel the US as well. Like road tripping, that kind of thing. would love to have a really solid band together, who I'm like really happy with. Would be keen to have at least. It's a very risky thing to say, but I'd like to have like maybe an album or two out. By
a little bit risky there. A little bit risky there.
Yeah. It's just if I don't end up doing it, it's going to be a little annoying that I said I would do it, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Hopefully, like, I don't know, financially somewhat doing okay, which is unlikely given
tough.
the debt that we're going to be in. But
yeah, I know. Don't get me started on all that.
Yeah. So basically, earning money and hopefully traveling. That's the main two priorities, I'd say.
Yeah.
Be nice to have like a long-term relationship, but that's one of those things where I'm like, if it happens, it's nice, but it's not something I'm actively going to try and make happen and force to happen, you know.
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I mean, I would say that. First of all, that's some pretty nice goals, to be fair.
I'm fairly specific. I think people get a bit weirded out. They're like, what do you mean you know what you want to be doing in 5 years? I'm like, if I don't plan it out, I'll just not end up doing anything.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I want to have an EP out, hopefully have a full like album out, maybe like possibly with Indigo Weekend if that even happens, but we've literally not even had one full rehearsal with everyone there, so that is like, you know, I definitely want to have at least an album out. I do want to go back into filmmaking, like, because I've made about like three short films, and like one of them was the like first one, it was like bad. Second one I'm quite happy with, but for what it was. But I do want to like dabble in all three, because like my biggest inspirations in general is probably like Donald Glover. Do you know Donald Glover?
Yeah.
Childish Gambino. I think what he's capable of doing, because he'll like do stand up, he'll act, he makes music, I'm pretty sure he directs as well. There's not one thing that you can kind of like pinpoint him on. He's such a like so talented and so like
creative all-rounder.
Just creative all-rounder. I want to be a creative all-rounder. So once I feel like I have it, because I did photography before I even did short films, because when I bought the camera I was focusing on photography. I did a bunch of photography, and then I thought to myself, right, I understand like ISO, shutter speed, blah blah blah, color balance, all that stuff, aperture,
etc.
And I was like, well, I think that looks quite nice. And I did like an Instagram photography, and we put some up in a local shop and everything. They got framed and everything. I was like, oh, so cool, people are going to be buying it. And then no one bought it. And like, yeah, but it's funny. Like, I look back on it now and I'm like, okay, maybe if people had bought them and it kind of like people were like, oh, this is really interesting, maybe I would have stuck with photography, and right now I would be really good at it. But nothing came from it, fair enough. And I thought, right, I've got a grasp on photography right now, let's move on to media. And then when I felt like I'd done BFI, it was like, right, let's move on to music, because I want to reach a point where I'm capable at all three. And granted, when you do that, you spread yourself a bit too thin. That is a risk. I'm not going to be the best in the world at anything, but you know, I never was going to be the best in the world, because there's always going to be someone better, right? So screw it, I'm just going to have fun. That's what I want to do. I want to push myself out my comfort zone, but I want to have fun. And as soon as photography wasn't fun anymore, I was like, right, next thing. Right, and that's what I'm like. I don't think there's anything wrong with people who have jobs that they're just happy, they're content, this is my job, like, and they spend most of their life there. Like, if that is what you like, that's amazing. And honestly, I'm kind of jealous, because I wish that I was like just really content and be like, this is awesome.
I just don't know if many people like that find it genuinely fulfilling, or if they just settle for it.
I think it's really telling that, like, the majority of people, I feel, they tolerate it and they get enjoyment out of it. Yeah. I would say, like, you're definitely in the minority if you think, I cannot do this. Like, I can't work at a supermarket. I just can't do it. It's just not my thing. I think you're kind of in the minority, because if it was the majority of people that felt that way, jobs wouldn't be what they are. Like there would be so many jobs in the different industries that we want to pursue in, right? But the reality is there's very little, and there's way more jobs in these. But maybe I don't know. But I just think I just want to be like a creative. I want to make a podcast eventually.
Yeah.
Like that is
Hosting.
like, yeah, I'd like to host a podcast as well. And yeah.
We can do that. I could be your first guest. That'd be
Hell
kind
yeah.
of fun.
I'm down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, like, yeah. I mean, I don't know when I want to, because the thing with a podcast, I think it's one of those things like, I think that would be a really nice thing to kind of, when I've settled down, maybe even maybe in life, like maybe if I have a house and like this would be if things, and a lot of things would have to go right for me to be able to be like, oh, I've got an album maybe out that's like good, it sounds good, and I'm actually now working on like a genuine film, like a genuine film, right? Like, or something. It's like, so I have like such crazy big like ambitions of what I want to do, you know, but then it's like, why not?
For me, I can't wait to do things like that. Like I'll be like, I could leave it until I'm 40 years old and it's successful and this and that and the other. But the reality is, what if I got hit by a car tomorrow and I just never ended up doing any of the things I want to do? Exactly. That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah. And like, I want to at least be at a point where if I ever got hit by a car and just suddenly died, I'd want to at least be like, I gave it a go. Maybe I wasn't, because I'm certainly not the best at literally anything, but at least I tried.
Yeah.
Like trying it's something, it's, you know.
It's literally the only thing that you can do. Like on this planet, like you basically just leave behind the stuff you tried at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I would be so devastated if I like died and I was like, I've never released a single piece of music. I've never like, you know what I mean? Never just like chased after any of the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
Like that would be like essentially my worst nightmare.
Yeah.
You know?
I totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess ambitions would be podcast, do something within media that's like good, something within music, like album, something that's genuinely just good, sounds good, you know, and then eventually like settle down, have a podcast, and I want to have a nice house.
Same.
I really want to have like, I've been watching loads of Top Gear, and then it moved on to me watching loads of YouTube videos of like where Richard Hammond and Jeremy Clarkson and James May, like where they're all at right now in their lives. And Richard Hammond, like there was just a video out of him, like his daily, like day-to-day thing, and he's got his own company, and like his house is like just lush, and he just goes and walks the dog, and he's a busy guy, really successful, you know, but that thought of having just this lush house and like a wife and kids and just I want that.
I don't think I want like a stereotypical like nice mansion. I think for me,
maybe
I'd
not
like,
a mansion.
I'd like a nice like cabin home, maybe by a lake in like Canada or something. That'd be nice. Yeah, it would be nice to like settle down eventually. I don't think I'd want to be that busy. Like, I don't think I'd want to be like, I mean, maybe I could run a business or something, but I think I prioritize my freedom over anything else. And once you tie yourself to like a business, that is basically your freedom gone. That's
true. Yeah, I think, but like that's why I feel like a podcast would be my business. Like it would be like I just like do the podcast and be happy and just like come on, like have guests round, and maybe from the different things that I've pursued in my past, I'd have enough notoriety to be able to get some interesting guests on or something. Because do you know what I mean? That would be quite nice.
I think.
But this is really far ahead. This is like just grasping at the straws.
I think with getting guests, I think if they're famous, they're probably more difficult to get, but it's not difficult to like get interesting people. Like there's plenty of just hidden gems of human beings around, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm quite interested in interviewing them. I think just because if somebody's like a famous actor or something, they've already been interviewed like 1,000 times, they've kind of said their piece. Whereas if somebody's kind of like, you know, maybe the guy who plays guitar in your local town and nobody's ever really heard of him, then you're providing something that wouldn't otherwise be documented at all.
Yeah.
I find that like so interesting.
That's one thing that I think Hot Ones does really well as well. Do you know like the
Hot Wings guy?
Yeah, I think because what that does is it strips away a bit of a persona that these celebrities have to have, and they're like just like they're just focusing on not freaking out because it's so well done, and that's why it's so successful, I think. Because it just like it's such a cool little gimmick. Yeah, it's easy, and they can also use it to promote stuff. But if you notice, they always promote stuff right at the end. Like they'll be like this camera, this camera, this camera. Yeah. What have you got going on? You know, tell everyone. But the whole thing leading up to it is like really like they're just good questions. They're just really interesting, good questions. So Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it'd be fun to do a Hot Ones episode on here, but I know that audio listeners would be cringing as they hear people eating.
Oh, that'd be awful.
It would be the worst thing ever.
That'd be the worst. Yeah. 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 I'm now just thinking of just like, some guy like crunching down on a chicken.
To be fair, my spice tolerance isn't too bad because I tend to put hot sauce on everything I eat.
Mine's awful.
Really?
Yeah.
Not a fan of spicy food?
I do, but I don't know, like, I don't have it enough to be like a super fan of it.
Right.
I like spicy food, but yeah, I don't really have it enough.
Fair play.
To be like, oh yeah, I have it all the time, because I just don't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I find it difficult to eat stuff that has like no seasoning or no spice, no flavour. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I'm just like, it's missing a certain je ne sais quoi, you know?
Yeah, that's fair. That is fair to say.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was also going to ask, like, with you, if you had a biggest kind of inspiration musically, what would that be? Is it Nick Drake?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of my guitar playing, most likely on acoustic Nick Drake, but also like Joni Mitchell, Paul Simon. I mean, the list is literally endless. It's John Martin, he's a fantastic guitar player. The Beatles, early influences was like the Beatles for sure. Like, I loved the Beatles when I was like 10, 11. Pink Floyd, like kind of classic rock bands, I guess you would say. Led Zepp, of course. The Grateful Dead are a massive one in my electric guitar playing. Like, I love jam, like, style. Like, I'll happily do, like, 20 minutes of weird jams and feel totally satisfied with, like, that was a productive session. And people are like, that guy's just noodled for, like, 20 minutes. I'm like, that's the point. I love Dire Straits. They're fantastic. John Mayer, brilliant guitar player. But yeah, Nick Drake was a massive influence. I think also just around the time I discovered him was before I recorded my first EP. So I think, I think more or less all the songs on that were in really weird tunings that I'd kind of picked up from him. Also, just the lyrical content of his songs is fantastic. Because he was an English major, I believe, at Cambridge. So he didn't actually take music in uni. But yeah, he was big into, like, I think, like, romantic poetry. I'm not very well versed on poetry, but that kind of thing. I was just, like, mesmerized by his music.
That's how I felt with Unnamed Orchestra.
Yeah.
It was the same thing of just, like, I felt just, like, an actual whole new world had just been opened up.
Yeah.
Like sound-wise. I couldn't, I just was so blown away.
What is it about their music, like?
I don't know. Like, I think it was the first kind of like real. I don't know, like, because it's psychedelic, but the first track, the first like album's literally called Unknown Orchestra, and it was released on my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So nice. Like, I have it like because it was released on my birthday, the birth of both.
Yeah.
no, but and it's like very. It feels like it's like kind of coming out of a radio.
Okay.
Like, it's not like super produced. It sounds quite vintage, and all the sounds are just like every song is nothing like my brain would ever think of how I would construct a song, if you know what I mean. The chords are so different, the sounds, the vocal effects, because Ruben Nielsen's voice is like just so different and so like it's just I can't even describe like how cool they are in my opinion. And even and then like as it went on, it did get more produced but still kept this vintage feel because all the equipment's like fully vintage. Like, and also like the thing with there's a song called Multi Love, and it's on the third album, which is also called Multi Love. And what Ruben kind of does for the art of music is kind of like incredible. I've already told you about this, I'm pretty sure, but it's called Multi Love. He basically like started a polyamorous relationship, and he felt himself kind of being pushed out of his own relationship with his wife because that she like was like kind of I guess was forming more of a bond with
the third party.
With the third party, and it's just such a, like, I don't know anyone who's been in that situation. That's such a unique situation to be in.
Yeah.
And just everything about that song is like just so cool, just so different. And the drum breaks, the way like it's all mixed together.
I think it's funny because you are attracted to music that makes you feel like you're stepping outside of yourself, like something that's very different, whereas I tend to go for music that feels like I'm coming home to it.
Oh,
You know
wow,
what I mean?
okay.
Like,
yeah.
If I look at like stuff I listen to, like Allman Brothers Band, literally like my favorite band, Rush, I adore Nick Drake, but it's all music I can very much relate to and draw like my own experiences, like kind of have parallels between myself and the lyrics, and I feel like really deeply connected with the music, and I'm kind of like feel like this is like my music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you're probably the polar opposite in that way.
I think I definitely do find, yeah, like I think to a certain extent that's very true. But also when there are lyrics where I hear them and I'm like, that is my thought process right now, that also is like absolutely incredible. There's a Mac Miller song that I was listening to, which really just like, oh god, it just spoke so much. Let's look it up. Where is it
If
called?
you could have written one song, by the way, what
Good
would you
News,
get?
I think is. If I could have written a song that was now mine.
Yeah.
Oh my god, what a great question. Oh wow. That's gonna leave me. Okay.
Thinking.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think maybe it would be possibly like a Beatles song.
Okay.
Probably Something by the Beatles, like Something.
Oh, good choice.
I think that is just kind of like a perfect song. It's like it is the best love song ever. And it's just yeah, George
Harrison.
He's just amazing. Yeah,
Greatest writer in the Beatles.
It's yeah,
Yeah.
like what an incredible song. And Here Comes the Sun. I might actually pick Here Comes the Sun.
Yeah.
I think that's their most popular song, right?
It's their most listened on Spotify.
Imagine you wrote that. Like what? Where'd you go from there?
Yeah.
As long as it was the last song I wrote, I'd be happy. Because if I wrote that at the beginning of my career and everything else, nothing beats it. So you just be like, well, what's the point?
Well, to be fair, his solo stuff after that, I think, was incredible.
Oh yeah,
as well.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like My Sweet Lord. and
Oh, yeah,
What Is
yeah.
Life, like.
Have you heard Wah Wah?
Yeah.
I listen to that all the time now.
The whole of the All Things Must Pass album, I think, is just incredible. Like some of his best work.
Yeah, and going back to the whole DMT thing, he's got gnomes all over that album. He loves gnomes. He probably did a whole load of DMT, right?
And he definitely did a hell of a lot of acid.
Yeah. Do you know when they started? I'm pretty sure like some other guy just spiked John Lennon and him.
Basically, the first time they smoked weed, they like smoked up with Dylan, and that's how they got into that, which is like the coolest story ever.
Yeah.
And then how they got into acid was their dentist spiked them. That's the story anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is they then proceeded to choose to do acid for a lot of more times.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that one time. But yeah, I think if I was to write one song, there's so many good choices. I'm thinking possibly Blue Sky by the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
Such a simple song, but so nice. Or like Hazy Jane 1 by Nick Drake, just because the guitar part is stunning. Possibly either Limelight or Spirit of the Radio by Rush.
Okay.
Or Subdivisions by Rush. I adore that track. I think it would have to be one of those, and I'd probably have to spend years thinking about it, and then still probably not come to any kind of conclusive decision.
Yeah.
Because they're all so fantastic in their own ways.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good. And going back to what you said about how certain songs, like I like songs that are kind of like maybe out of my body, whereas you like them in. I do feel a very like weird connection to. There's a band called Yeek, Yeek, and a lot of his songs, they're nothing like, it's not psychedelic rock or anything. It's more like rap. It's like American rap, but I think a lot of the stuff that he says in his work, I feel like a weird connection to as well. But do you have a favourite song, like ever?
No. I don't really trust people who can choose a favourite song.
See, I've got one, so you can't trust me anymore.
Okay.
No, I don't know. I get that, because I mean, there's so much.
If people ask, I'll maybe just go for like one of my like songs I listen to all the time, like Sultans of Swing, or like I'll just kind of offhand choose a song and be like, yeah, that's my favourite song. But the reality is, it really depends on my mood. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you heard of Jigsaw's "Falling Into Place" by Radiohead?
No.
So that for a good like 3 or 4 months was my favourite song.
Okay.
And I listened to it over and over again. Like, it's one of these songs where like, the production on it's crazy. It's such a cool sound. Mm-hmm. And I feel with Radiohead, their kind of like niche is definitely like being, it's quite like a depressing sound sometimes, it's like, but yeah, like Jigsaw Fall Into Place, it's not. Mm-hmm. It's just such a cool sound. But my favourite song of all time is Honeybee by Unknown Mortal Orchestra. Mm-hmm. Like, there's just a guitar solo in it, and the whole thing is quite like relaxing. Mm-hmm. It's like just a really nice, like, it's just really chilled. And then this solo comes in, and it's like just UMO all over. It's like such their sound, like such a unique sound, and even the like notes that are used, they're like there's like an actual like there's a certain kind of progression that Ruben uses, and it just all comes together to make this song that is just kind of perfect to me. It's just such a beautiful song. So definitely. How many listeners do you have usually every episode?
It really varies on the guest, to be honest.
So there'll be 0 for this.
So to our one listener,
hi Dad.
Have you seen The Midnight Gospel?
The Midnight Gospel? Yeah, that rings a bell, right?
Yeah. To my one listener, Hernog Jensen, I live for you.
Yeah. So Dad, put on Honeybee. He likes that song as well.
I think. At the minute, like if I was to choose like song of the month, it would probably be Portland by The Replacements. Okay. Back in high school, I think the first song where I was like, I kind of realised within myself this song's going to be really significant in my life was Run of the Mill by George Harrison. Because when I had like my first kind of, I guess you would say somewhat spiritual awakening, maybe around like year 7, which is such a funny thing to say, like my spiritual awakening in year 7. It wasn't, the most profound thing ever, but it was when I sort of started to become a bit self-aware. That was like the song I would always listen to, Run of the Mill, and it got me through high school. Yeah. That first year of high school, which was just awful. I would just put on my headphones, listen to some George Harrison, and block out everything. Nirvana as well at the time.
Oh my god, yeah, Nirvana's one of my biggest. I'm so annoyed I didn't say that earlier on when you said about my inspirations.
Okay.
Because Nirvana's up there as well.
I love all of that music, especially like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Jimi Hendrix, all of the stuff to come out of Seattle. Obviously, I have family over there.
Yeah.
Just.
Best
incredible city for the music,
It's kind of like, it is unbelievable how many incredible artists come out of that place,
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous.
I think it's because grunge had such a big scene there. I don't know. It's one of those places like Nashville. It's like how much great country music can come out of one place,
Yeah, it is crazy.
Yeah.
I think as well, like, the MTV Unplugged live performance, that like that for me is the best live performance ever.
Yeah.
I will literally stand on that hill. Like it is just it's incredible. It's unbelievable. Like Man Who Sold the World was performed. Where Did You Sleep Last Night? Mm-hmm. And great About a Girl, the opener of the whole of that album.
Yeah.
Like that is my go-to song that I will just sit there and play. Like whenever we're in the practice rooms, I always end up just start playing About a Girl, because it's such a, I don't know, there's something about it, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And I think for me, like Kurt Cobain had so much more that he could have kind of given. Like Bowie was incredible, right?
He had a long run.
Bowie had a hell of a long run, yeah. And kind of like similar, I guess you could also say like John Lennon as well. Like John Lennon and Kurt Cobain, they are probably the two kind of like biggest artists that I think like our lives would genuinely be different if they had lived longer. He would have released more music that would have just like changed it, like minutely changed things, and life
true.
would be just so, it would be literally different, I think. Like, because people would have kind of, I don't know, I do think that, and especially with Kurt Cobain, like, he had so much that he could have given. Yeah. Just even on artwork alone, like even if he never made another song, his paintings and stuff are so cool that in the art scene, it would have like influenced so many artists, and maybe like people would be talking about him, like it would be in art seminars, they'd be talking about his paintings. Do you know what I mean? Instead of being like everyone, oh yeah, his music, Nirvana, like maybe he would have literally even elevated above Nirvana, and he would be known as a musician, because that's kind of what Jim Carrey did a little bit. Jim Carrey does like paintings as well as acting. He's coming back into it now, but he like completely stopped acting and just did loads of artwork. Yeah, and like that's just so cool, you know.
Yeah. I do always wonder about, like, especially like artists who died really young, like what could they have gone on to do? Like if Nick Drake didn't die, if Tim Buckley hadn't have died,
Amy Winehouse
for sure. Like any of my favorite musicians, you know, like what would they be doing today? You know?
Yeah. It is so sad.
It's a funny thing to wonder.
It's so sad.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't know, the music industry, especially back in the day, just had a tendency to just eat people alive.
I think it still does now, honestly.
Especially if you look at rappers.
Oh,
like,
God, yeah.
It's like in the news, like every month, some massive rapper, it's like something horrific's happened.
Yeah, I mean, going back to when it's about like Mac Miller.
Yeah.
Like his song was Good News, and everything that he said in that, like, it was just, like, that was released after his death. That was released, I think.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just with him as well. And there's so many artists where, like, nowadays, where when they, like, suddenly pass away, they then become more popular. Like, it's almost like that was, like, a gate that's now opened, and now they actually then become mainstream.
Yeah.
Because I want to say there was a song with Lil Peep and XXXTentacion called, like, Rain. I can't remember. But it was basically, like, Lil Peep died. I think he OD'd. I think it was an accident, but I'm not sure. Like, I haven't done loads of research into it, but XXXTentacion heard about him because of the death, realized, oh shit, like, he was really similar to me. We would have probably collabed, or like, I wish we did collab or whatever. They make this song, and then he dies, and they literally then like release this song where both like musicians have died.
Yeah.
And I remember like playing it out one of my speakers, and I think my mum came in and was like, "Oh, what's this?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just like saying who it was," and I was like, "Yeah, they're both dead now."
Bloody hell! That's the thing
so
with, I think, just in the rap scene at the minute, the culture of just taking pills. It's like, it's so concerning to me.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. It's just not worth it. The amount of great artists we've lost. It's troubling.
It is quite scary to think, like, because like I said, like Post Malone, he's like one of my idols. Like I absolutely love him. And there was a little moment, I think it was last year, I want to say.
I think there was that video, wasn't there? Where he was
him on stage, and he
and
was like collapsing and stuff, and he did come out with a statement or whatever saying like that's just like part of the kind of persona that he has on stage, and it's not, he's not on drugs, like don't worry about him. And I'm like, fair if you want to say that, but like, I don't know.
You can't really buy it.
I think it's part of that kind of lifestyle that you're bound to dabble in that type of stuff. But like, if he died, I don't know. That would be the worst. Like, I don't know. It'd be
Don't
horrible.
Think about it.
Don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
He's just one of my idols. Like, but fuck. But
yeah, I love Post Malone actually. He's probably one of the few pop artists who I actually pay attention to.
Yeah. In
like a serious way. He's not somebody I necessarily listen to loads, but the stuff that I do listen to of his, I love. Like Stays, brilliant.
Oh, Stays, just
Circles. I love what's that track called? Go Flex. It's just like a fun little track he did. Yeah.
Yeah. There's other like stuff that he's got on YouTube that he hasn't put out. He's got Window Shopper, which I want to say, want to say maybe 50 Cent originally did. I can't remember actually, but he basically takes the instrumental and raps over it.
Okay.
And it was right at the beginning of his career, and it's like such a good song.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish it was just actually like out, that I could listen to it on Spotify or something. But yeah, so it's just one of those things. The kind of culture with rap and stuff, and how drugs are very much intertwined. I think I think drugs and psychedelics and all that, it's just intertwined with creatives.
I think psychedelics are different though.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think people can use them to be spiritual, to be creative, in a way that if you're just popping pills left, right, and centre, you're not really being as mindful.
Sure.
I think there's like a very legitimate link to psychedelics and creativity, whether it's people who like to get fucked up on pills and then write. I mean, fair play, it's going to give a different vibe to the music you're writing, but I think it's far more physically damaging, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. Yeah.
Also, if you look at psychedelics used in human history, I mean, people have been eating mushrooms since the beginning.
Right, is that because that's the theory, right? That's the theory, that the Stoned Ape Theory.
Stoned Ape Theory.
Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, I mean, effectively, that's just one theory. Who came up with that? Probably Terence McKenna.
I have no idea.
It might not have been. But yeah, the theory goes that people essentially became more and more conscious as they sort of left the jungles and started going and eating mushrooms. I'm sure mushrooms had a part to play, but I don't think it's that simple.
Yeah, I don't know, because like you got to think
how
how
a lot of it
intense,
probably was just evolution.
Yeah, I think how like intense, like how many, like what the population of humanity was during that time, to say that because it would have to be the majority, right, that would be eating these mushrooms and having psychedelic trips.
Oh, I'm sure everybody was doing it.
Do you reckon?
I mean, they were around. Let's say like we're there back in the day, and your buddy finds some mushrooms that can allow you to talk to God. You'd be like, hell yeah.
Yeah, that's
what
true.
else am I doing? Walking around in the grass?
There's literally like lemurs that will like get centipedes or millipedes, I can't remember which one, but like it gives off this toxin to make them go away, but it actually makes them get high. They'll purposefully attack it and bite it, not to eat it, but to get the toxin, and then they just trip.
Yeah, whales get high as well. Like, I think there's like a certain type of puffer fish, and they basically pass it around like a fucking joint. It's so funny.
Crazy. And like you have literal evidence of other animals being able, like doing it, and then it's like, it's just so crazy. Like, yeah.
A lot of it's been legalized again. Like, we're slowly but surely getting our way back on track to like sensible policy around psychedelics. Hopefully.
I think if psychedelics do become fully legal, as long as they're kind of like dosed correctly and they're like monitored in a good environment, like, then sure, it could work. Because honestly, I do not have a leg to stand on. I'm not qualified to talk anything about really any drug.
No,
I don't take any of it.
Okay.
I'm very much like I just don't. I have a drink, but that's it for me. And it's not that like I'm against any of it. I just don't feel like I want to be honest. Like, I don't personally feel like I want to. Maybe in the future that might change, but I've just never, you know, so I can't comment on it. Granted, we did talk about DMT, but that's only because I have watched a lot of Joe Rogan, and but as an outsider to it, I don't really feel qualified to comment on the legalization or whatever, or or how, you know.
I mean, I'm not somebody who would ever choose to put myself in charge of policy or talking about any kind of policy at all. Like, that's not my place whatsoever. It's just fun to theorize, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it seems pretty clear the way we're doing it at the moment doesn't work. So then you kind of have to go, how do we rethink, you know?
Yeah. All right, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
What is the best version of Fly Me to the Moon? There's only one correct answer. Now I'm joking. You can say whoever.
I don't know too many versions. I just kind of know Frank Sinatra's.
Frank Sinatra? You're going to say Frank Sinatra? That's fair. I mean, Frank Sinatra's awesome.
Not something I've looked into, I've got to be honest.
Bobby Womack.
Who's that?
Bobby Womack. Bobby Womack's Bobby Womack.
He's
awesome.
Okay.
Give him a listen.
Uh-huh.
Fly Me to the Moon, in other words. It's just lovely.
Yeah. I know Blue Moon, there's a great version by Cowboy Junkies. Just like a really nice, like, kind of indie, reverby kind of version. That's really good.
Yeah, I think, like, how do you feel about covers? Do you like have an opinion on that, or?
I think if they're better than the original, they provide something different than the original. They're a good idea. Like
Yeah.
I'll cover a song for fun. I think they can be good fun to do. Yeah,
That's fair. Because
they just have
I
to be done
agree.
tastefully,
Yeah.
basically.
you know, Black Magic Woman by
Yeah.
Santana.
Like that's an incredible cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but for me, I do like Fleetwood Mac that version more. Because for me, like I don't know, I like the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It's more raw. It's like a genuine. It just feels more raw, more like emotional.
Yeah.
I guess my main thing is I don't need the craziest sounding thing. I can just kind of sit there and be like, oh yeah, I can just
Yeah.
I think.
Santana's version is incredible, though.
Oh no,
I
it
think he
is
just
incredible. It
elevates
is absolutely amazing, but just for me,
Not for you. Fair enough.
no, it's not. It's not for me. I would just I would still listen to it and be like, oh, this is really good.
But it's different.
Yeah, if I had to pick which one I like more, I would probably say Fleetwood Mac's version.
Yeah, fair. Fair play.
Yeah.
I think covers are quite good to find your own bearings as a musician anyway, because then you can figure what am I doing with other people's songs? What should I do with my own songs? You know?
Man Who Sold the World.
Yeah.
Nirvana did it. Obviously Bowie. I mean, which one would you say is better out of those two?
I don't think you can really say either one is better. I like the Bowie version because I grew up on it. But I mean, I'll listen to both, you know?
Yeah. I think if I had to say, I would say that the Nirvana one's more my thing. Because Nirvana is just more of my thing than Bowie in general, like just in general. But yeah, I think, with covers, I'm all for it. I know there are like musicians that are like, no way. Like, I'll never do a cover. I don't want to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why? Who cares? Who cares? Just enjoy it. You're doing it for fun. Like, I don't know. Obviously, you want to be making profit from stuff, but I think if you're going to be making music, you have to clearly enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never going to say to somebody that they should be covering stuff, but also, you know.
Yeah.
I'm very relaxed about the whole thing. If people want to do covers, they can do covers, you know.
Yeah.
I think it is a pretty essential part of like growing up as a musician, though, because you'll hear something and then you go, I want to play that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's fair.
Also, you learn a lot from learning other people's music. Like, they're going to be doing stuff in their sound that you hadn't have thought of. And so then you play it and you kind of tear apart the song and you're like, what are the different parts that are being played? And it gives you ideas for your own stuff, I think.
Yeah. I feel like with you as well, like you are like through and through music. Music is everything. Like absolutely everything. Whereas for me, it's like I'm kind of 50-50. Music is half and the media's the other.
Yeah.
So, yeah. One of those.
I find it difficult to find anything I care about more than music, to be fair.
What about a really good TV show or film?
No.
That's fair. Do you have a favourite movie?
Favourite movie? Love The Big Lebowski.
I was gonna, yeah. I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
I just love it because the whole plot's like literally him just getting a rug. He just wants his rug back.
I love films that are just ridiculous but funny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when anything gets too like serious and like people are like, it's a thrilling, action-packed, visceral, and I'm like, you've lost my attention.
Yeah.
Like I just want it to be a guy getting chased after a rug.
Yeah.
That's essentially what I want to watch.
Yeah.
I also find it like once I have a movie I like, I'll just watch it over and over and I won't get bored because I rarely watch films. I love Totoro. I love like Studio Ghibli films. They're brilliant. I'm trying to think what else I love. I had a Star Wars phase but wouldn't call myself like an avid Star Wars fan.
Oh my God.
Lord of the Rings.
Through and through.
Lord of the Rings. Those are the best films. Those
Yeah.
are the ones I always go back to. Absolutely love those. Trying to think what else. I went through a stage with Submarine, the 2010 film, where I found that film to be brilliant. It's just like a little independent film. And it's based on a book called Submarine. There's just some great, like really quotable lines in there.
Yeah.
But I'm not so much into that now. I love documentaries as well. I'll happily sit down and watch a Rush documentary or something like that.
You can watch the Beatles one.
I am. I've heard it's really long.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 3 hours long for each episode, I heard.
Yeah, I'm going to find the time.
Yeah.
Get Back, isn't it?
Yes.
You watched it?
I haven't, but I'm going to watch it as well. I'm planning on.
We should just watch it together.
Yeah, I'm down.
It'd be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved Living in the Material World. I think that was the documentary they did about George Harrison.
Cool.
That was really good. It was more about his later life.
I watched the Kurt Cobain one, Montage of Heck.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
It's
really
incredible.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I watched like the weird documentaries about like Kurt Cobain conspiracies. Those are fun. Like, I used to watch those. Not so much anymore.
I'm interested because the whole conspiracy thing. It's not really something I guess we should get into.
Some of them are too far out, for sure.
Some of them are just like, I don't know. But going back to whole movie stuff, because obviously, like you mentioned Star Wars, I am a through and through like full on Star Wars like fan. Like I've watched like all of it so many times. Honestly, if I could choose, if like my life could just be like, if I could get a job like to do with Star Wars, I probably would do that above music or media. That is
crazy.
I guess it's part of media. It would be part of media. But like if I could get a job like on The Mandalorian or like one of the TV shows,
I'd prefer that.
I would do that in a heartbeat. And I'd like, because like Star Wars is just one of those things. I think it kind of always gave me an escape. Because like you said, which is very true what you said, I do find like I'm always trying to find an escape from everything.
Yeah.
Whereas you like to look kind of internally, I think, maybe.
Yeah, I think if I'm in public, I'll listen to music to escape from the reality of sounds around me and things like that. Like I find it unbearable to be sat like in like a store where there's like 100 different sounds going on. It's all too much. I'll just put headphones on and I'll use it to kind of drown out the rest of the world. So I think it can be an escape in that sense, but it does tend to be stuff that like resonates with me. Yeah. Yeah. Star Wars, I don't think, I wouldn't say I have like Star Wars as an escape though, no.
Not like...
Lord of the Rings for sure.
Yeah, I love Lord of the Rings. Never got behind Harry Potter. I never understood it. I was always just like, wait, what? Like
I've never minded Harry Potter.
It's a chocolate frog now? Like,
yeah, I think it's a fun like fantasy world and I can see how people get into it, but I just missed the boat on it. So I think now when people try to get me into it now, it's too late. It's already passed, yeah. Like I've been to Harry Potter world and stuff and I've enjoyed it. Yeah. But
imagine they made a Lord of the Rings world.
I would live there.
Do you know what? I don't think you could do it.
Just hit the microphone, I apologise.
I don't think you could do it though, because like logistically, like Lord of the Rings is a literal like world. Like Hobbiton is its own place. Like if they did it, they would have to literally like convert fields and fields and fields and fields. Like Lord of the Rings world would have to be like an actual like huge land. Where like Eye of Sauron, you could see it, but it was actually really far in the distance, and it was like a several mile long complex where you've got Hobbiton. You enter at Hobbiton and you travel through, and it is just like genuinely, if you wanted to get there, it would take you say 3 hours of walking.
Oh, I'd love that.
Imagine that.
You have to like follow the journey that they follow in Lord of the Rings. That'd be so cool.
That'd be so cool. Whereas like with Harry Potter, you can have the art.
They basically have like costumes and stuff, and you know.
What's the Diagon Alley? Right, that's the place.
Not aware.
I'm pretty sure it's called Diagon Alley. Sorry to all the Harry Potter fans that are listening.
Yeah,
the two that are listening.
They get very passionate as well. Harry Potter fans, when you tell them it's not quite for me, they just don't seem to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're like, you don't like Harry Potter? You're like, it's not that I don't like it.
It's just I don't know it enough to. Yeah, but yeah, for me it's like Star Wars, but. Like you said about with the Big Lebowski, and how you like films that are just kind of like they don't take themselves too seriously. They're just more. Yeah, I'm the same because my favorite film is Hot Fuzz.
Oh yeah, love Hot Fuzz.
And it's just like the most quotable, funny movie. It's like about a policeman who basically goes up against the neighborhood watch, and they're called the NWA.
Yeah, which is amazing.
It's so funny.
Yeah,
that would be. I reckon like one of the best things ever that could ever happen to me was if I did do a podcast and I was able to interview Edgar Wright or Nick Frost or Simon Pegg. That'd be the best day of my life.
I loved them in Paul. Paul was so good.
Paul is such a good movie, but because it's not part of the Cornetto trilogy, people kind of shit on it, and it's like, no, it's a really, really good movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So funny. And it's got like ELO as the soundtrack.
That's the thing as well. Like
Banging.
a film with a great soundtrack is like I didn't watch Guardians of the Galaxy, but
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that. Yes.
Yeah.
That was my college soundtrack. Like I listened to Volume 1 over and over and over and over again. Like it was just like that was all I listened to for the entire year that I was studying art and design. And Guardians of the Galaxy is my second favorite film ever.
Yeah.
Like just
I need to watch it.
Have you not watched it?
No.
You haven't seen it. You just said that, right? You said you haven't seen it, but you know the soundtrack.
To the soundtrack.
Well,
which is a very meaty thing to do.
Yeah, I think I don't think it will give you what it gave me.
Okay.
I don't think you'll like be like, this is amazing, like, but I thought it was amazing. It was kind of like I'd watched Star Wars for the first time again for me.
Yeah.
It was like this big, like, oh my god,
this is amazing.
This universe is insane because it was all the Marvel. It's obviously in the Marvel universe, so you got like all the Marvel stuff, but it never went to space. It was never like, you know, I guess they did with Thor, but Thor was like okay, but yeah, like Guardians 1 holds a very, very special place in my heart. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of things to say, but I know nothing about the franchise. I just know there's a weird little man who kind of looks like a tree.
That's Groot. And one thing about Groot that I think is so cool is he kind of like goes past language barriers. So this is why I love, like, there's something about certain characters where they don't speak, but they can speak like R2-D2, beeps and boops, right? And Groot just says, I am Groot. And what you can do with that is there's no language barrier then, because you can understand how they feel from the way they emote.
Okay.
That's why I feel so drawn to certain characters, because they're just so, like, you can tell what they're thinking or feeling.
I'm terrible at doing that.
No, really?
Yeah. I need, like, the characters to be like,
I am feeling sad.
I'm feeling sad. Yeah. No, to be fair, I can
Oscar.
to some extent.
It's just like Frodo just looks at the screen. Oscar, the ring is taking over.
Yeah. Literally.
I am feeling very sad.
Not like to that level, but like I think if there's just like a subtle raise of an eyebrow or like something like really like inconspicuous, like there will be like things like that in films and people will be like, you didn't notice this? I'm like, it flew over my head. I had no idea.
How do you feel about Stanley Kubrick?
I haven't watched a bunch of Stanley Kubrick films.
Watch him. Watch all of them.
Which ones?
Okay, so 2001: A Space Odyssey. You have to watch.
Yeah.
A Clockwork Orange.
Oh yeah.
The Shining. The Shining is like it's just like it's a horror movie, but Kubrick, because I think Kubrick's the best director. Like I think he's like the greatest. And some of the kind of building blocks of modern cinema, you literally can see them in his stuff. And Eyes Wide Shut as well. Eyes Wide Shut is crazy, and there's actually a little conspiracy about that film, because basically it's all about the sex cults and stuff in people with power. So like Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, he's like a really like well-off doctor, and they go to this like party, and the guy who hosts it is one of his like I guess one of his patients or whatever, like, but they just know each other. Yeah. And he's like, oh, can you come upstairs real quick? And like the guy's wife's downstairs and all this, and it's all like completely like really rich people in tuxedos and stuff, you know. And Tom Cruise goes upstairs, and there's a prostitute that's like OD'd in the bathroom. Yeah. And he comes in and he like I think he like helps her and all that, and then the guy's just like, yeah, God, thanks for doing this. I'm glad my wife didn't find out about this. I would have been in deep trouble. And it's like showing how kind of like the corruption and the power, and like specifically within sex and stuff, and it's just like so crazy. It's based on a Italian novel or a French novel, I think. And there's this scene is so freaky, but like he sneaks into one of the mansions, like where it's all going on, and he's like got to wear a mask and everything, and he goes in and he's walking around, and there's just like this whole like it's really quite graphic, but there's like all these people doing stuff like as he's walking through, and then he goes into this hallway and all the people in masks are just staring at him because they know that he's kind of infiltrated it.
Yeah.
And it's so freaky. And he's just stood there like, and all around there's just all these people in these really freaky old, like, you know, the Italian like masks that they use to cover their faces.
I kind of know what you mean, yeah.
And they're all just like staring at him. And they're like, we know who you are. You ever come back here again? Like, we're going to kill you and all this.
Yeah.
And he like escapes. And he's like, thank God I escaped. And I guess spoiler for the movie. But when he comes back into his house, one of the masks is on his bed next to his sleeping wife. Like, like showing that they're like so powerful, like they can sneak in and all this. And and then he just kind of like breaks down and starts crying. And then his wife's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then he has to kind of come clean about what he was like trying to do. Like he was trying to be unfaithful and all this.
Right.
And there's this other bit where like he's like really like about to sleep with a prostitute, but then he doesn't do it. And then he goes to see her a second time. And then it turned out that she was like HIV positive and stuff. So it's like it's like just the craziest stuff happens. That's Eyes Wide Shut. So go watch that. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Awesome. Yeah.
I keep hearing about 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think I should definitely watch that.
It is a quintessential, like it is so important to film in general, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
I'm
2000.
quite a difficult audience with films, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie. Like
you might be a bit bored. You might get a bit bored because it's one of those like films where like it's very kind of like slow, but it's meant to be, and it's like really like it just you sit in it and you just like it just feels like it's really slow paced, but because of that it feels real.
Okay.
It's one of those things. It really takes its time. So when something actually happens, you're like, oh my god. That's why Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is like so good. To like, in my opinion, I don't know if you've seen Breaking Bad.
I've seen the first episode and it was really good.
Yeah, like yeah, and more so with like Better Call Saul, which is a spin-off all about the lawyer. But like, there will be episodes and episodes and episodes and episodes of like not really anything happening, and the biggest thing that happens is like he changes a document on a layout for planning permission. Like that's like the fin of the episode. He's like, I'm just gonna like slightly add one extra dimension to this thing, and that's all he does. And then like episodes go down the line, and then a character will find it and then like trip up and smack their head.
Okay.
And the reaction of just a character falling over and hitting their head is like, oh my god, he's hit his head. Like because you're so like in that world.
Right.
That's the biggest thing that can happen, and you're like, oh my god, no, this is so bad, he's his head. Like, whereas you cut to insert other show, and you'll have people getting like chopped up to bits and like all this crazy action explosions, and you're just like,
you're just not phased anymore.
Just don't care.
Yeah,
whatever. Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, it's like, and don't get me wrong, I love those. People want to crap on the Marvel movies and stuff. Like, I love them. I really enjoy them. They're great, in my opinion.
Which ones?
Well, I mean, like the Raimi Spider-Man movies. Have you seen those ones? Like the ones about Tobey Maguire. Have you seen those ones?
Ages ago, yeah.
So like the first one's good. The second one is just like a masterpiece with Dr. Octopus and that. The third one, not great. Then there was like Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. The first one was like, second one was really bad, in my opinion. Homecoming, I loved.
Yeah, I loved Homecoming.
Absolutely loved it. So funny, like way funnier than I thought a Spider-Man movie could be, but really good. Far From Home, I enjoyed. And then this new one coming out, very excited.
Yeah.
No Way Home, coming out on the 17th of December, as we're recording this.
That's soon.
So we're going to date it. We're dating this now because, you know, people are going to be like, wait, what?
Yeah,
that's years ago.
5th.
They're going to be like, that was years ago. Like,
yeah.
You know? But,
old news.
Yeah. Very excited for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Are you like an anticipator of films? Like, I'm
Not
never
many.
like that. Like, if a new album's coming out for an artist I adore, like, I'll pay attention. But other than that, like, I never know when things are, like, about to happen, especially in the film world. Like, I don't pay attention.
I am very much like it depends, obviously. Like if it's like a franchise or something I don't care about, it is absolutely no. I could not care at all. But if it is something like Spider-Man or like when the Avengers, like Infinity War and Endgame, like I literally, like when Endgame came out or when Endgame was initially released, I think we got tickets for the 5th day with like, so it had been out for 5 days. And when it got released, I turned off my phone.
Yeah.
I uninstalled every app, like that was social media, and I only used my phone literally to text, like, and like phone my parents or my close friends. But I did not go on social media for a week.
Just for spoilers.
I was off the grid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm just more of a theatre person. Like, if I watch a great theatre show, it will stick in my mind and I'll be like, that was a fantastic show. You know what I mean? With theatre, I feel like I'm way more immersed. I get way more engaged with it.
Yeah, I think I haven't watched enough.
Oh, okay.
But I really want to watch the Book of Mormon.
Oh, I really do as well. I had tickets, I think, but then it was cancelled.
Yeah.
So irritating.
I really want to watch that.
Yeah.
If you get tickets, like, I'm there.
You're there.
I'm down. Yeah.
I think also because I live near London, which has fantastic theatre. Like, that's just why I was so into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I watched Hamilton, which I loved. Very generic, but it was fantastic. We had tickets to Dear Evan Hansen. That was also cancelled, which is a bit...
Have you seen the movie?
I haven't.
Apparently it's not good.
Awful.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, he clearly, like, the actor in it, apparently, like, he's way too old.
Really?
Yeah, because he's the one who did all the stage stuff. So when he sings, he's singing like he's on stage, and it's really jarring. Because when you're like in an audience looking at a play, like you can be very expressive and blah 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 blah, and like you really need to express your face because they aren't seeing you.
You have to overact.
Exactly, you have to overact. But then when you're in a movie, the camera's right up close. So I think what was happening was he's overacting, and it makes it really weird.
Yeah, you can sometimes have that when a theatre actor goes to film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you just have a director who isn't willing to tell them, like, you shouldn't be making it that big.
I'm pretty sure, like, the producer or the director is his dad.
So he's not going to be questioning anything.
Yeah. I think he put out a tweet saying something like, if I wasn't part of this, it wouldn't be made. Because his dad was like only doing it because of him or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember.
It's a funny thing to tweet.
It was something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But it was something like along those lines of kind of implying like, if I wasn't linked to this thing, like it wouldn't be a thing. So.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. Weird one. Yeah. Trying to think. Do you have any more, like with this podcast, obviously, like, do you have anything lined up?
I have had a couple people say they want to be on it, people around the uni. So whether or not that ends up happening.
Who you getting on?
I won't say because I don't want to promise people an episode and then it won't happen. But there's like 2 or 3 people who have asked.
I think after the pod I'll ask you.
Yeah, I'll tell you after the pod, that's fine, you don't need to guess. There's definitely people who have been on previously. It will probably happen in maybe a month or plus time, you know.
That's fair.
Yeah. What about you with your podcast? Are you thinking about starting it anytime soon, or?
I really don't know. If I end up really kind of being like,
I think just the opportunity of being here is really good because you have microphones and everything just available to you.
Yeah.
It just puts you in a really good position to start one now. So I don't know.
Could do. It's quite an exciting prospect. I am very intrigued in it, but I'd have to kind of. Yeah, I might actually, because it would be good for me, I think, to start doing it. But then we'd be rivals. Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know. It depends if we're podcasting about the same kind of things.
Well, my name that I'm thinking is called the Kaleidoscope Cafe. So
I was thinking of having something called the Kaleidoscopic Coffee House.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you, like, out of people that you know and your friends and stuff, like, do you feel like you are like the one kind of like pursuing a big thing? Do you have any friends kind of back in your hometown that what are they pursuing? What are they doing with their lives?
A lot of them are at university for various things.
Yeah. Oh, right, yeah.
So everybody's kind of pursuing their own things, yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's cool.
I wouldn't say I'm like soaring above at all. No. My friends back home, a lot of them are in a band.
Give them a shout out.
Under Sky.
Oh, hey.
Shout out. Who else? Yeah, I have friends who are still in college because they deferred a year or whatever. I have, just people just doing like all kinds of different pursuits, stuff that isn't even related to creative industries. Like everybody's doing their own thing, you know. What about you? Do you kind of feel that way? Or?
No, not at all. I mean, like all my friends are doing like really cool things. One's doing like really gotten into fashion and stuff, which is really cool. And yeah, like a lot of my friends they're just kind of like, they're doing it. They're just doing what they want to do, which is nice. Mm-hmm. They don't necessarily feel that they have to be like pursuing like they don't feel like they have to be like, oh, I got to do music or I got to do this. They're just like, no, I just have my job and I'm happy. And that's really nice. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, yeah. But I've also got a lot of friends that I made when I was in like the other, like pursuing different courses that are doing really good right now. One of them's studying in London. Yeah. Andrew Butler, shout out. He's doing really cool stuff. And yeah. It
is really interesting to see where everybody goes off after college.
I always felt, I do feel as well though, like with my hometown, I did always feel like I was kind of like on my own from a creative kind of perspective. Not many people were really pursuing music like I was.
No.
Or like media, like, and if they did, they never worked with me. Like I wasn't in that group with them to do it.
Yeah.
I feel like at one point I was kind of the only one that was like, not the only one, but out of especially my friendship group, I was the one that's like, oh, like let's make this short film, let's do this. Like I was always pushing, and some of them would be like, nah, I don't want to be a part of that. But then others were like, no, I'll do it, sure.
Yeah.
And which was really cool of them to do that. And I'm very grateful for them.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have been able to kind of go to the next thing, to the next thing, to the next thing. And so, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But just because of the way my town was, there was very few people my age. So it's difficult to really gauge like what people were really up to. It was a very kind of stagnant place. Like nothing really ever happened, which in a way was quite nice because it was like fairly rural and quiet. But at the same time, I needed to escape. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't have stayed. Yeah. I think you probably feel the same.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I love my house. I love my family. We're all good. Like everything's like good at that. But the town itself, like it's just, I had to get out of there. Yeah. Honestly, it's a bit. It just is what it is, though. I just feel like there was nothing going on within the kind of thing that I wanted to be in. Yeah. There was no like opportunities for anything to do with music or media. So that's why I went Bristol. Bristol's like amazing for it. And if it wasn't for Bristol, I wouldn't,
I think for me there was stuff nearby because London was nearby. So you would have opportunities, but you'd have to travel out to get them. So I figured I may as well live somewhere where I'm not having to like commute to go do basic things, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Like if you had a gig, you'd always have to like be driving off to the next town or whatever. It's quite nice here to just be like, there's a gig down the road. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Are you happy to wrap up?
I think I am, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to let people know where they can find you on the internet?
Well, I mean, like, my socials wise, I got an Instagram, which is just my name. But creative wise, Indigo Weekend, we don't have anything out yet.
Nope.
My solo stuff, still very early doors. So what I'd probably want to do is I'll keep it under wraps for now.
Oh, okay.
And then maybe if I end up managing to get something out, we could do another one or something.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I'll be like,
check out the new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on, dude.
Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're very much welcome.
It's just been chilled. Yeah,
it's been a very chilled episode today.
That's what I wanted it to be. Yeah. I hope like people don't think I'm just talking about myself. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm not full of myself. I'm not like, you got to do this. No, that's what I would laugh.
Yeah, awesome.